Hi, first graders. It's Miss Vanderhoff again. Happy Wednesday. So we have been doing a lot of research. I've been doing a lot of research about worms. I hope that you've picked a topic and written some questions, and I've been doing some research as well. So today, we have been using some books. I started with a Reading A to Z book, and then I found a few books on Mayan. And today, I'm going to do some research in some online databases. So our learning target today. By the end of today, I will be able to research my topic in online databases. So you may have used some of these databases when Ms. Lennon was showing you how to research, and also Mr. Vitale for your nonfiction book last week. So I'm going to show, I'm going to show how we find those databases and how to go through the process of researching there. Okay, so in a second, we'll see. So I'll show you where we are, Blackboard right now. So here's the full step through first grade distance learning, and then first grade databases. You guys see that? First grade databases. So I'm going to go there. And you can use either of these two. The animal research, that just has a couple that we know are really good, and there's some more databases if you want to try out some extra ones. Might be, and there's also some Spanish ones over here, I believe, as well, in case you want to do any research in Spanish. But we'll start with the one that says the animal research one. I have a couple that are my favorite research databases. All right, so one that's familiar is PebbleGo. And it tells you SCPS is both the username and the password. So I'm going to go to PebbleGo and see if I can find a PebbleGo article about worms. All right, and it's already logged in since I logged in before, but if it asks you to log in, it's FCPS, like Fairfax County Public Schools. So here's my search bar. Remember how we talked about search bars yesterday? It says the word search, and that little magnifying glass is my hint that that's where I search. So I'm going to type my word, worm, and I see a couple of different kinds of worms. Let's do earthworms, because I think some of the books we've been reading have been about earthworms. Earthworms. All right, and in PebbleGo, they don't really have a table of contents, but it kind of does, because along the top is kind of our table of contents. So we've got body, habitat, food, life cycle, fun facts. Let me pull up my questions again and see what chapter I should look in first. All right, so we're learning about how they move, what they eat, do they have eyes, how do they breathe, how are they good for the soil, and we have a little space for some cool facts. So we have a couple questions about their bodies, so let's listen to the part about, or read the part about bodies. Earthworms have long, thin bodies covered by wet skin. Tiny, oh, that's a tricky word. If I click on it, I think it'll tell me how to say it.
Kiti, small hairs that protect earthworms from enemies.
Oh, so we learned about hairs. Now we know what they're called. Kiti. Interesting. That's not how I would have said that. So good thing I have this button to tell me how it sounds.
Kiti, small hairs that protect earthworms from enemies.
So tiny kiti hairs cover their, oh, there's another long word. Let's listen to how that word's said.
Invertebrate, an animal without any bones.
Invertebrate, so no bones. So tiny kiti hairs cover their invertebrate bodies. What's this word?
Clitellum, a band around the middle of an earthworm that is joined for mating.
Clitellum, interesting. A clitellum wraps around the body's middle. This ring is used in mating. Okay, so I got a band around the middle. Very interesting. So I learned how these tiny kiti hairs, I wonder if those are the same hairs that help it move. So I'm going to ask a question. Are these the same as the hairs that help them move? Because it said it helps protect them from predators, isn't it? Or protect them from enemies. So I wonder if that's also what helps them move, or if those are different types of hairs. Okay. Here's their habitat. Earthworms crawl in warm, wet soil. Some live close to the soil's surface. Others dig deep burrows in the dirt. Earthworms hide from enemies under rocks, logs, and dead leaves. Well, here's the food. I wonder, so far we know about their food. They eat dead leaves and plants, food scraps, dead animals, and we know that they're decomposers. Let's see if we find out something more from this chapter. Earthworms make their meals from dead plants. Oh, we got that already. They also eat the remains of animals. Yeah, we got that too, dead animals. They swallow soil and small rocks to grind their food. Earthworms have no teeth. Oh, that's really interesting. So they on purpose, they swallow soil and rocks and then grind up their food. It's not really what they like to eat, but maybe we can put that as a fun fact about how they eat. They swallow soil and rocks to, I don't want to use the word grind their food because that's what the book said, so maybe to break up their food. Interesting. They have no teeth. Earthworms mate in spring and summer. Adult worms wrap eggs inside a cocoon on the ground. Eggs hatch in a few weeks or months. Most earthworms live 1 to 5 years. There's those cocoons. Interesting. Ooh, fun facts. Each earthworm has 5 hearts. Oh, we learned that already. Remember we learned about the 5 hearts from the last book? Earthworms breathe through their skin. Oh, we knew that one too. 1 million earthworms or more can live in 1 acre of land. Wow, that's a lot of earthworms. Very interesting. So we learned a little bit about earthworms here. Now let's go to another database. Let's do, so that was PebbleGo. Let's do this one, World Book Kids. So again, where I found this was in the animal research folder on the first grade databases. And World Book Kids is another good one. And here's how we log in to World Book Kids. It asks you Fairfax and Fairfax. All right, so see the search button again? Let's do worm. All right, so here is a worm. Let's read. A worm is an animal with a soft body and no backbone or legs. A worm's body is shaped like a tube. There are thousands of kinds of worms. Interesting. Thousands of kinds of worms. You know, as I'm researching, here's the interesting thing about research is that the more that you learn about something, sometimes the more questions you form. So this tells me there's thousands of kinds of worms. So we've been learning all about earthworms, but now I have a new question. This will be question number 6. What are some other types of worms? Maybe how are they different from earthworms? So after we finish researching our first questions, maybe we can come back and answer some of these other questions. And I see this, here's a diagram of types of worms that might help us find out about that. The largest kinds of worms can grow many feet or meters in length. The smallest kind of worms can be seen only with a microscope. The most familiar worms live in soil. These worms are known as earthworms. So that's the type we've been learning about, but it seems like there's lots of other types of worms as well. Earthworms are found around most of the world. They feed on rotting plants and animal remains in the soil. We didn't talk about rotting. We talked about dead, but maybe I'll add on rotting plants. Dead and rotting leaves and plants. Okay. This feeding helps free up nutrients, nourishing substances that help plants to grow. Well, that's what we talked about down here, how they help the soil. Their waste has nutrients. We learned that. It helps the plants grow. The worms help turn and mix the soil, which also helps plants. Oh, that's another thing we haven't learned yet. We learned that they made space for the plants, but they also apparently, I guess when they move around in the soil, they're helping to mix the soil. Mix the soil and they move. Many other worms live in water, including the oceans and freshwater. Wow, I didn't know worms could live in water too. I thought we read before that when they get too wet, they can die. So that's another research question. How do some worms live in water? Maybe we'll research water worms next. Maybe that'll be number 7. How do some worms live in water? And I wonder how they breathe there. Let's see. Other worms live inside plants or animals. These worms are parasites, living things that feed off creatures they live on or in. The creature that is fed upon is called the host. Worms that are parasites may cause illness in the host. Most kinds of worms have a well-developed sense of touch. Their bodies are also able to sense chemicals in their surroundings. Many kinds of worms have the ability to see with eyes or eye spots on their head. Some worms are blind, however. Oh, this gets us back to that one question. Do they have eyes? Oops. So it seems like some of them have eyes or eye spots and some of them are blind. So earlier I thought one book told us they don't have eyes and maybe earthworms don't, but some of them do. So maybe I'll say some have eyes. And I'll have to figure out what an eye spot is. Or eye spots. Others are blind. So maybe we'll need to do more research about which type of worms can see. There are several different groups of worms. Some of the most important groups are the flatworms, ribbon worms, roundworms, and segmented worms. Earthworms are segmented worms. All right, so this is already the answer our new question about what are some other types of worms. It seems like we'll have to do some research on flatworms, ribbon worms, and roundworms. And we already learned about segmented. It seems like earthworms are segmented worms, but I wonder if there's other types of those too. So that's a really cool thing about research, is that as you start to research, you start to develop more and more questions, and then you look in other books to answer those questions. So we'll do a little more of that tomorrow. We'll develop some more questions based on what we've learned so far and see if we can find the answers to those questions in even more books and online resources. I will see you then. It's going to be the last day of school. See you then. Bye.